Testing. Testing, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Sorry, we will turn this down a little bit. We are trying. Again, this is all a work in progress, so just bear with us. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the March meeting of City Island Rising. My name is John Dowe. I'm the president of our board. I want to thank you all for coming here tonight and for building community with us. And this is a very nice turnout, so I want to thank everybody for coming out. Before we start, I just want to acknowledge some members of our board who are joining us here today. So we have Beverly Jones, who's right over here, who's our secretary. She just raised her hand. We have Louisa Benedetto, who's right back here. We also, I'm going around the room here. What else we have from the board? We have Dan, who's on our steering committee, who's right back there. And we have a few members who I'm sure will be joining us in time. As we often say, a lot of our members do work, so they're coming towards the end, which always is appreciated that they can fit this in. So I want to thank everybody for coming out here tonight. We're using the microphone for two reasons. One, for those in the room who might need it, but also because we are streaming online. So keep in mind there is an online audience as well, and so they can hear everything that goes on. So as you start to speak, I will hand the microphone to you. I know some people get self-conscious, they don't think they need it, but so the people online can also hear you, we're going to ask that you use it. Okay? I want to thank, again, everybody for coming out. We have a few people here who we're going to invite up to speak, and then we're going to get right down to community business. But since we have guests here tonight, we're going to start with them. Again, they're here at their own fruition, and they're here because they care about our community, and they want to hear from all of you. So I know everyone here will treat them with courtesy and respect and civility, as we always do. Our first guest for the evening is Marianne Anderson, who's the Pelham Bay Park Administrator. Thank you, Marianne. Give her a round of applause. I can be the Vanna White of this. There we go. Hold on.
It's my favorite prop.
Here you go.
I'm glad you brought a mic because, is it working? Is it working? Okay. It's kind of loud, but is it okay for you guys? Yeah. Because I think I blew my voice out playing stickball in the street. So, I'm the administrator for Pelham Bay Park. I've been with the Parks Department for 38 years. I started when I was 6. And I've been administrator for 15. So, and basically the administrator's job was created when Central Park and Prospect Park was created. So we're like the third, administrator's office, and it's to oversee, capital projects, natural areas, volunteers, anything to do with the park because it needs special attention because it's so big. And it's your front yard. I've always taken that very personally as a public servant because this is it. Well, this is the entryway to City Island. So there's so many things that affect you. I know you were talking about the roads before, and it's a big issue. It's on parks and not roads, but it's still all connected. So keep being vocal. I get the emails from John also. I'm on that email chain. So
it's the biggest park in the city, right?
Yeah, it's the largest park in New York City. Look how forested it is. It's probably about half forested. We have 2 golf courses side by side, driving range, the only public beach in the Bronx. I think that I might be preaching to the choir because I think that most of you probably know that. But there's a great website about the park. There's lots of history and lots of things to learn if you want to. It's pelhambaypark.org. So, and I know that you guys have a lot of other things that you need to talk about tonight. But I just wanted to update you on a few of the projects that are happening. The biggest thing happening right now is the historic restoration of Orchard Beach Pavilion, and it just started in November. The borough president, the governor, city, they all chipped in. It's an $87 million project. It's going to be the historic restoration of the wings of the building. So when you look, and it's the 2 wings up and down, it's going to be more accessible. They're going to actually build an accessible ramp that goes on the lower plaza side of the building. And the old cafeteria, if anybody remembers. Anybody remember the old cafeteria? I think I was a little kid there. That's gonna be all renovated, new concessions. Even, I don't even remember concessions on the wings of the building, but there's gonna be concessions on the two wings of the building, up and down. So, the city is working on an RFP right now, so that'll, run through the community board.
What does
So
that mean,
keep your
RFP?
ears, a request for proposals. So they're actually working on drafting one right now, so for the concessions in the building. So that'll come before the community board, and I know that you guys, usually are in touch with all that. So then in conjunction with the pavilion building, we're also building a new beach maintenance facility because we had to move our operations out of the pavilion building and up onto a hill that's nearby. So that's taking place, like the building is here, and that's taking place right here in the top of the edge of the picnic area. That just started, so the fence is going up now, and I know that we'll probably talk a little bit more about that. There's also another project that's going to take place in May. It's going to be a very busy place in Orchard Beach with all the construction going on. But the nature center that's in section 2, all the way at the end, that's going to be reconstructed, the interior. They've done the roof, they've done, asbestos removal, and this is like the big third phase of it. So that should start in May. They just awarded the contract. So, and then I get a lot of questions from City Island about the, when you come across the bridge, on the right side, there's the big field where they had done the water main, and that's going to be part of a forest restoration project that's going to start this April, not with planting, but they're going to do some spot treatments of herbicide to clear, that's okay, they're going to plant up the lawn, but they're also going to do some work clearing some of the vines and invasives in the woods nearby. This is with NRG, our Natural Resources Group, and their contractor. So that's going to start in April with that spot, as well as there's going to be another spot up near Bartow Pell Woods, which will start, simultaneously. So you'll probably see trees planted, if we're lucky, this fall there, but it might be next spring. So that's part of, when they did that project, they removed 276 trees. So we got $6 million to, do some forest restoration all around the park. So that money goes right back into Pelham Bay Park. So that's the first phase. There's going to be those 2 spots. I'm sorry, my back is to you guys. I'm sorry about that. But that's the first phase, and then there's going to be 2 more down in the south part of the park. They're going to do some forest restoration, and they're going to do some, I think, alongside where the stables are. So that's coming down the pike. And then the other projects that I know you guys kind of know about, but you might hear more than I do. Sometimes I think that you hear it before I do, is the Pelham Bridge. I haven't heard anything lately. I know DOT, you should ask them, what's going on, and keep up on that. And also, I haven't heard anything about Shore Road yet, so, hopefully something will happen with that, because there was a study, and, I know it's very concerning. So, and then I just wanted to mention some of the events that we have coming up. So that's my cheat sheet. So we work very closely with the Friends of Pelham Bay Park, and we have a virtual open house coming up on March 29th. So that's on that pelhambaypark.org website. And then we also have some volunteer projects that we're going to be doing with the Natural Resources Group in June. We're going to have an East Meets West fundraiser with the Friends of the Vancouver and Perk Alliance over at Ramblin' House on April 11th. So that should be fun to raise some money for the park.
Shucks, so we'll
That's
show
right,
up
East
and
Meets West. And then we have our regular things. We have like an Earth Fest event. We're going to do some photography workshops and some art workshops starting in April. And we might do a history walk. I haven't planned it yet, but we're supposed to do one in May. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. But I'm sure people will have some questions.
You comfortable answering a few questions? Okay, John, and then Nancy.
No. As a matter of fact, I ran into Joe Colwell, who used to do it. I don't know if you know him. But,
No, I don't, but he's one of the,
he was one of the organizers.
so they're just not, they're not ready to do it.
They kind of reached their max, they didn't want to do it anymore.
Didn't they move the car show? I think the car show's now with the golf course, the Trump golf course.
Yeah.
John's
I think
doing
they're
that, right?
You know
Car
what,
group or not.
Yeah, no, I'm not, I know, I'm just trying
It's
to
not the
provide
same car group, but.
clear, it's a different group, okay. So just trying to be.
Not, you know,
My only
I've heard
question is for 15 years, we've been trying to figure out who can rebuild the roads from 1920 Robert Moses spec to 2022 DOT spec, like most of the rest of the roads in the city. And we got the mayor's office and the park commissioner, the park administrator here, so see if we can get that done from our little slice of the Build Back Better money.
yeah, it's a good idea.
The problem is they just fall apart, and they patch them, and they fall apart, and they patch them because they're at the right substrate standard. So
Right.
we can do that. Wonderful. For another 20 years, we can stop the pain.
It's not complaining, it's just concern.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have to get in and out.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Nancy and then Beverly.
My concern is the removal of healthy, mature trees. There was an article in yesterday's New York Times about the zombie forests in California. You can plant hundreds of trees, but they may not thrive, whereas the mature trees can live for years. They provide shade. They suck in the carbon dioxide. So we've removed a lot of beautiful trees so far. Are we going to remove any more?
Not to my knowledge, no, I
So
think
there's
that was.
nothing coming up from the bike path?
So,
Because last fall, somebody put orange things around all those trees and that would come down, and then somebody else, they disappeared, so I'm hoping you took them down for that reason.
right, so what Nancy's referring to is when they were gonna do the new maintenance building, they did a tree survey. They did one survey, and then we wanted a more extensive survey so that it took in the forest nearby and the forest edge, because, you know, we knew that we had to work within that footprint. So Parks Department loves trees. Like, I totally understand everything
And
you're
the new
saying.
ones may not.
Yeah, and the fact that losing mature trees is like, we
And
don't like to
you
do
know,
that,
I
and that's
cried every
upsetting
day
for us.
when I saw them.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I will tell you.
We don't like it either, and that's
Because-
why I know that you've talked to people, and they say they don't like it because we don't like to do things like that. So we worked really hard to maneuver the building to make sure that it was mostly in the lawn and that it was going to have the least amount of impact. We removed, you know, a portion of sesame grass that's, you know, has a rare moth. We transplanted it, and we shifted so we stayed out of a wet part of the forest that's protected. So that's where we wound up, and we had to remove, you know, 65, I think, trees, and then we're planting 225 trees. And then we're also getting some restitution money to do some forest restoration. But
And-
I understand.
And
And
there'll be
also,
no paved road that will suck in.
The only road is the one, we're not building like a road through the woods, so
Where the trees.
the reason,
Yeah.
when we looked at everything, we settled on the entry to the new building would use the bus depot gravel, and then there's a gravel road that goes to the dump, and that's pretty much gonna remain gravel, except where the building meets it,
Okay,
so
so the
we've
paved
really
road is
tried.
going where there were trees.
right on the edge. You know.
and we can always, you know, there's gonna be, it looks like there's gonna be another Million Trees initiative, so we can always try to work together to make sure more trees are planted. Okay,
We've been
all right.
pretty successful. I mean, we've been very lucky. You know, Pelham Bay has gotten the most trees out of the Million Trees initiative, out of every, you know, forest in the city. And, you know,
Yeah.
we'll have some more. And plus we have the forest restoration money. So the quality of the forest really started to go down in the 90s because we had so many vines. It was terrible. So it's really bounced back. That's why we
Beverly,
have
you
so
had a
many deer.
question?
First of all, thank you for all of your advocacy for wild spaces here in the Bronx. So I want to tell a brief story, and then I have two questions both related to runner safety. So my husband and I, when we were looking for a place to buy a house, the first thing we saw when we were like, "Where's City Island? We've never been to City Island." It was May, and we came off the hutch and we dropped down into the most beautiful green space we'd ever seen, and we were like, this is a miracle. And I try to never lose that sense of wonder with respect to the park and how lucky we are to have it. I do half marathon training in the park and love seeing it sort of wind through its seasons, particularly in the wooded areas. There was a story a couple years ago that hit the news about a woman being assaulted while running, and then there was some grassroots signs that got posted. I don't know if those were about separate incidents or something the same. I was wondering if you could comment on. I firmly believe that the park is a good, safe place to run even alone as a woman, but wanted to get your thoughts on that. And then the second one is, do you have any clout in terms of getting the painted crosswalks back on, particularly on the other side of the bridge, where the sort of running path goes on both sides, and then out by Orchard Beach that crosses down so you can run out toward the golf course, because those painted crossings have been pretty degraded, and I know you're not DOT, but do you have any clout? And can you speak to that aspect of safety as well?
Yeah, I can definitely speak to DOT about that. So, and thanks for the thanks, because I want to thank you guys, because you're all out here tonight, for your community, and I know how much, all of you really do love the Pelham Bay Park. So, I mean, I can only speak personally that, being in very, isolated areas in the city, I really don't go by myself anymore. I've had times where, all of a sudden someone was just in the woods, and I was in the woods by myself. So I can only just speak personally that, anytime anyone asks me, I always say go with a friend. I don't think I think Pelham Bay is safe. It's safe just like anything else, but, it's better to be safe with having a buddy with you. So
I feel very safe in the park.
I know I see you all the time.
Patrick, go ahead.
A couple of really quick questions. So I was fascinated by you said the RP. So you're trying to bring up the cuisine a little bit, some sushi. I mean,
I think they're open for any kind of ideas. So
I think Havana Cafe's looking to go there, so you can get some paella on the beach.
The Borough was so eclectic. It's, people want beach fare. I mean, we've tried stuff like that before, and you want your hot dogs, hamburgers, and stuff like that, ice cream. But
But my other question to you was, I've been reading a lot recently because I was working with kids in the school here. I'm a scientist, and invasives are on everybody's mind. Plants. So have you got a whole program to deal with that issue?
Yeah, we have a natural resources group that's been dealing with that for a long time, and they don't do it in isolation. They're, talking to other scientists in the community. The biggest scourge we have right now is mile-a-minute vine. It's terrible. I mean, it can grow anywhere from 10 feet in a season. So we're doing those mile-a-minute polls with the natural resources group, and they've seen that it's helped. When they have that constant, volunteer usually effort, it helps a lot.
You can actually watch it grow, right? 6 inches a day or something? You go crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah.
We have Dan and then Yvette.
Are you responsible for the bike lanes in the park, or is that DOT also?
That's us for the most part.
So just silly question, which I'm repetitively asked, is that when you're coming on to City Island and you're on the left side and you come down and there's like that U driveway and then there's the two fences that are like this, so you have to get off your bike to stop for cars that aren't there to then drive past the thing to get back on your bike.
But
Why
you
is
can't,
that?
yeah.
Why is that there? It just seems counterproductive when like the bike lane is for whatever 1,000 bikers a day. I'm just making it up, and then 6 cars come out of there all day, and everybody has to get off the bike for the safety of why don't they have a stop sign? You know what I mean?
I know, but it's some of the cyclists blow the stop signs. There's little stop signs on the bike path, and they blow right through it. It's not much of an effort to just kind of go through it and slow down. It just gets them to slow down and be more alert. So just 1 second, and then it's because there's big trucks coming out of there, quite often. That's our borough crews. So they do like fence repair, ball field repair, asphalt patching, and they've had a lot of close calls there. So we put it in for safety reasons. I think we only have 2 right now in the Bronx, and they're around areas where there's our facilities where there's a truck coming out.
Okay, I mean I do that most days, and it seems counterintuitive. I prefacing with I appreciate the safety aspect, so I don't want to.
Yeah, no, I understand.
But it's like it seems backwards if the idea of the bike lanes is for this environmental thing and getting people safely or around places to have to get off your bike to let a giant truck through seems like.
I mean, I haven't seen people get off their bike, really.
Okay.
So they kind of go through it.
If it was like.
I understand,
Just a
it just
little
gets
bit
people
wider.
to slow down, so
Okay.
we'll have to agree to disagree.
Yeah, that's fine. And other than that, thank you for every other bike lane and all of you.
Thanks. We are trying to get some more money to improve the bike path, because I think it was done in the 90s, so.
Unpopular opinion, any possibility at all of getting any on City Island? Since everybody bikes here.
Oh, I don't know, that's DOT.
Okay. Thanks.
Aren't you glad?
We'll have to invite them back soon enough. Yvette, go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, what year was the pavilion closed? Do you know offhand?
When the last concessions kind of were, they put the fence up, and the last concessions were kind of kicked out there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 2007. I've been there a long time. So, yeah. Because the building was spalling, and there were like little pieces of concrete that were coming off, so. Yeah.
And the upstairs, the back?
I don't remember the upstairs ever being open.
Oh, wow.
Does anybody here ever remember that? Like, even as a kid, I'm
In
sure
a
we would
movie.
have gone there, but.
Yeah. I remember the cafeteria.
Yeah,
It
me
was like,
too.
when you mentioned it, it's like, wow,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's gonna be exciting. It's really,
Yeah.
can't believe it.
Two questions. One we speak about pretty often, you and I, and we're going to be going on a tour of the landfill. And Marianne's given the tour before, she's giving us a tour again in early April, so we appreciate that. I know 2 or 3 years ago, before COVID, there was some talk about DEC and a permit to let some of the, and I'm forgetting the terminology, but some of the methane, was it methane or whatever is capped to let some of it into the waterway there, and that was going through DEC, or were there any DEC permits that are on hold right now or have been approved in the last 2 years?
I don't know, I'd have to actually look
Okay.
that up.
All right.
So.
Well, we're going to be on that
I
tour.
mean,
so
we
I
have a
know.
whole environmental remediation division. I'm not an
Yeah.
environmental remediation expert.
No,
but-
no, I understand.
So.
And then the last, since one of our board members who's in school right now, so she couldn't be here, but she did email her question. She said her biggest concern is kind of garbage and upkeep within the park itself. She said some of the hiking trails have a lot of garbage along them, and on some of the small islands she sees large bags of garbage. And I know I have seen the crews out there, so I do want to preface that.
Yeah.
But can you just explain kind of what the process is? And
Sure.
if somebody sees trash, do they call 311? Do they email you? What should they do?
You can email me. I mean, I'll give you my information anytime. You're the eyes and ears. We can't be everywhere all at once, so it's really important that anybody that's using the park tells us stuff. So
I have a suggestion. Carry in, carry out.
I know
On
I'm trying to do that.
I mean, canoeing in the mountains, everything we took in,
Yeah,
we can't.
we tried it on Twin Island once, and it just didn't work. I don't know.
I mean, if you can carry a six-pack of beer, you can carry out your
Totally get ya. Yeah.
For the Hutch group, we went out there and we did, a few of us went out on the canoes and we literally were on, I think it's Goose Island, which is the one over by the Palm Bay Bridge. And we were pulling out bags of stuff. So it is unfortunately, and some of that's probably been there for a decade or more. It is a problem, so.
So basically, one of the things that I think Parks does pretty well is we have, every part of the park is in a zone. So we're responsible for all the zones, and we get rated by our own internal group. It goes around and does random checks. We have to look at these areas like either 2 or 3 times a week or every day, depending on like if it's the woods or it's a playground. So we, try to police ourselves that way. But, if they found bags, it could have been because somebody actually was picking it up and left the bags there for our gator to drive through and pick them up. But, we try to keep on top of everything.
And in the interest,
And we're going to be getting some more help this season.
and in the interest of being good neighbors, we discussed this actually in November, and we'll work with you and through the Friends group. We'd like to have a day where City Islanders come out and help volunteer and clean up and stuff, and that way we are taking, it's a cooperative thing, that we are their neighbors, but also we take pride in this park, As Marianne said, it is our front door. Marianne works exceedingly hard to make sure the park is kept up to snuff, and we definitely want to keep it a jewel of the Bronx. And I know you do too.
Yeah, we all do. So,
Yeah.
and the staff really cares a lot. And it's got a great staff, so it's not me. So,
Thank you. Thank you, Marianne. And Marianne, yeah, let me give you. We could have just left it here in the art gallery. It might have sold for a good amount there.
It's my back.
Okay, and just because John mentioned it, a few other people mentioned it, we are working with some of our elected officials concerning the park roadways. Remember, this has been something we started under Senator Biaggi, and now we're working with Senator Fernandez's office, which we're going to get an update on. And we are speaking, of course, to the mayor's office as well. We did a survey in November. David Diaz and I went out. All the park roadways, we counted over 50 lights that are out within Pelham Bay Park. This is not news to anybody who lives here. They're all driven in the dark. It's particularly bad on Orchard Beach Road and by the Bartow Circle. We all know that. So we have given that list over to the mayor's office, so we're trying to work with them. There are a lot of reasons for it. We're going to get into them in a few minutes. But we're working to do that. And then we're also going to be working with our state partners, because the roadways need to be transferred in, we get a lot of, and this is not pointed at anybody, but unfortunately there's a lot of shared jurisdiction here, and when there's shared jurisdiction, sometimes there's a little bit of the roads are DOT, they claim some of its parks, stuff like that, so we're going to be working with our state partners to make sure that the roads are transferred over to DOT, all officially on city maps, so that way they are, as you pointed out, John, up to snuff, up to grade, have the proper drainage, the lights work. I mean, if you go, and unfortunately, I'm probably one of the few that's probably done this, but on the light poles, there are no numbers. So even if you wanted to call them into 301, you can't, because they ask you for what's the number on the pole. So we did all the roadways, we counted how many there were. There was over 50. Based on the accident that happened 2 weeks ago, there's either 51 or 49 out now because that one got knocked over, but we're working on that, and we will have an update at the next meeting for sure. Before we move on to our next guest, I just want to acknowledge, and we'll call them up in a little bit, we have Stephen Ochoa Camacho, who's right over here from Senator Fernandez's office, so we want to thank him for coming. And I'm aware that also Councilmember Velasquez has staff that's on the Facebook Live, and we appreciate them tuning in because they've been on the last several calls. So keep in mind, when you do show up here, your concerns are being listened to. And without further ado, we have another guest for the evening. We have Alina Dowe from the mayor's office. She's the Bronx Borough Director for Mayor Eric Adams. Give her a round of applause, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all. This is a beautiful place. I'm on City Island often. I just usually don't stop anywhere in between myself and food. So,
unless when I make you look at puddles, but that's...
Yeah, you're right. Puddles. I definitely do come and see puddles. My name is Alina Dowe. I am the Bronx Borough Director for the Mayor's Community Affairs Unit. Just so you know what that is, because a lot of people are like, oh, so what is that again? CAU, we are the liaison between all of our constituents in New York, in the Bronx, and the mayor's office and all of its city agencies. So one of the things I do is I always offer my information, and people say, well, why do we need the number to the mayor's office? And I say, you'd rather have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Oftentimes you don't really know what to contact the mayor's office for, but I handle things from something as simple as your trash not getting picked up regularly as it was supposed to. So we're like a conduit, and what we do is we would contact Department of Sanitation on your behalf and just say, hey, listen, we have someone in the community that's saying that their trash isn't getting picked up regularly. To something as big as working with John to try to find out when and how can we get these lights and the streets repaired on those service roads that are coming into the park. I did take some notes, so I just so I wasn't being rude on my cell phone. Actually, while you guys were talking, one of the things that I do when I go to the meetings is I'm taking notes and I'm listening, and then I'm flagging those things in my office, because we do work hand in hand with the mayor and all the agencies to sort of flag and let them know what are the concerns of the community. And I did make sure obviously the lights, me and John talk all the time.
Yes.
So the lights, I've already been working with John. We've been talking to DOT. DOT actually did reply to John recently, and that's something that they're looking into. They did mention that one of the main reasons why is that the lights, for some weird reason, the lights over here are connected to Bruckner, and I guess they're doing repairs. And I guess they're big panels. I had no idea. The things that I learned working for the mayor, you will not believe. But I will say that, interesting enough, DOT is very familiar with what's happening, and I guess some of the transformers that are holding on to the power of all of your lights are connected to where they're doing major repair. And because they needed to shut those down so that no one got hurt while they're working on the roads, that's why you guys, some of the lights are out. We're not talking about the broken ones, we're talking about the ones that are alive but just can't be lit up. So I know John has been advocating for that. I'm also here because I know about the water and the flooding. I am one to be very honest. I don't like to lie. And like I said, I live in the Bronx. I live in Norwood. I come over here all the time. I wasn't aware of the puddling, how bad it really gets, the flooding. But I do know about some of the smaller puddling that we might be able to address. One over by their home. I don't want to point them out. Maybe they don't want to know. But there's
The Miniford Moat, we call it.
The Miniford Moat. They have issues where we're dealing with people that are homeowners that are on the city island that didn't actually go and get their sidewalks updated. So, we have the Department of Buildings that are coming, and we'll speak with them and see what they can do to say, hey, listen, to be a friendly neighbor, we want to make sure that all the sidewalks and the roadways, which is DOT, are safe for people to walk on, whether they're in a walker or they're on a bike, or they have a stroller and they're pushing their stroller, or they're just walking their dog and they just don't want to have to go into the street. So there's a couple of different things that are happening. I always make myself readily available, so I will give all my information to everyone like I always do. And please feel free to contact me. I know that sometimes when I'm here, they're like, what can I ask the mayor for? Not the money. So I am not the person for the money. So if you want anything else, you can talk to me. If you want to talk about money, I am not the girl. They did not expose me to that prominent information. Not yet. So other than that, nice to meet you all. I'm going to be here through the entire meeting. I do apologize that I haven't been able to come. This is my first one. John didn't actually invite me. I just wanted to let you guys
She
know.
invited us. I appreciate that you're here.
I just wanted to let you know that I have not come,
Yes.
but I have never been invited.
So now she's going to be invited to every meeting.
Yes. So, and I do try to do my best to get to all of the different associated meetings. Yes.
Quick question, do you know if Bronx is getting compost pickup again?
Oh, so yes.
And then we lost it, and then I heard it was coming back, but I didn't know.
Yes, so there is an initiative that the mayor has been rolling out to get the composting. I think the Bronx is coming back. Actually, it's ironic. I just was at a women event last night, and one of the women who's heading it did say that they're in Queens now, and they're coming back over into the Bronx. So, let me get back to you, because I want to say that she told me in summer, but I don't remember the exact month. But I will give information to John.
They do have the one by PS 175 right now, so you can drop at 175 right now. That's why we haven't picked up with the nonprofit. But you're right. We'll get all the information. We'll start putting it on the.
Any other questions?
I know we didn't talk about roads, so I'm not gonna talk about that. I know you guys are gonna get that done. Like you mentioned garbage. Our garbage on Bay Street used to get picked up in the morning, sometimes early in the morning. In the last several months, for some reason, they pick it up after 6 or sometimes like 9 p.m. And I wouldn't care, but when it's hot in the summer, it does start to stink when it sits out there all day. Or the squirrels in the winter, they just demolish it. Sorry. So why did they change it to like the nighttime all of a sudden? Can it go back? And be out there all day until like sometimes late at night on the trash pickup.
You have my information. Please feel free to contact me.
Okay. Anyone else have a question for Alina? Go ahead, Nancy.
About sidewalk updating. I'm a tree fanatic, so my sidewalk, I don't have trees, and it's updated. But I would rather have the sidewalk go up a bit because a huge mature tree's roots are under it, and the climate is changing more rapidly every day, and every bit of warming and every mature tree that you take down, as I said before, you can plant hundreds that may not thrive, and they, while they're small, we see them. They don't provide what those beautiful trees. So on Miniford, there are a couple of places where the sidewalk is up. I don't mind walking on that.
So this is,
Not
and,
that
and I,
nice.
I have to give credit where it's due. Alina actually came out, checked it out for herself. Very much appreciate that. We're talking about on the corner across in Miniford.
Okay.
There is
There's
no
no
live tree there. So no trees will be harmed in the production of this
Okay, as long
sidewalk.
as
Okay?
there's no tree.
Yes. Okay.
When people, I fell flat on my face in front of a neighbor
Yeah.
once. It was my fault. I would never sue them.
And they can build curbs
Yeah, no,
now
she was all
to
upset.
go
I said,
over.
no, don't,
They probably didn't want to
And
get
the only,
sued.
and I will say, because forestry will only take down trees that are like a little lump on a sidewalk is not detrimental. They will leave that tree. But now when the sidewalk becomes a mountain, obviously, well, I probably wouldn't mind walking over that mountain. Someone with a walker or a stroller might find a little bit difficult.
Here, go out into the street and the driveway there, because
Okay.
those streets are side streets and the traffic, and enforced traffic speaker.
I love trees too, so.
Yes. We all love trees, and we're not harming a tree to do what we're talking
Yes,
about.
no. This one is actually the only thing that people stop is the birds won't have a swimming pool,
Yes.
and the mosquitoes won't have a nesting place.
Yeah. We don't want mosquitoes to go. To have the feast of Miniford Avenue on us. So we'll have Maria and then Patrick.
Oh,
Yes, Maria,
okay,
you
I
can-
mean,
And Cheryl, of course. Maria, Patrick, Cheryl.
I have a beautiful locust tree in front of my house that the city planted about 30 years ago. It's gorgeous, but it's pulling up my sidewalk, and a couple of people have trimmed this. I called in a number for the, 311, and what I did was I spray painted it yellow so people could see it.
Thank you.
But they told me, I followed up a few times, they told me somebody was gonna come in May of last year, and as of yet, I have not, and I'm home most of the time, I haven't seen anybody. So, I'm afraid, I'm afraid somebody's gonna get hurt, because it's really getting higher. They said to me, it has to be at a 76% angle or something like that, that's their formula.
Don't worry. I'll give you my card and let us, I'll speak with
I
them
don't want
directly
the tree
and find out.
taken down, it's beautiful. But there's gotta be something, maybe if they just trim one root that's pushing up the sidewalk.
I don't know what they do, but I do know, if you haven't had someone come out in a year, what I can do is I can go in, I'll speak to forestry and just find out, did someone come when maybe you were shopping that you don't know about, but we'll find out what the status is, but I'll give you my information, you contact me.
Patrick?
Please forgive me if I don't know the right terminology, but a few years ago there was a project in the city, a mayor's project, not
Yeah.
but what it was like a sidewalk or curbside gardens, and it served as a drainage and nice, beautiful flowers. I'm a member of the garden club, so we were having, I wish we'd get it. And we applied, but we didn't get it. For some reason, City Island just didn't make it, and we don't know why.
So this is a big bugaboo of mine. We've actually, Nancy and I talked about this. So they have the rain gardens in other parts of the city, and even though we are a Zone 1 evacuation area where we could use some sort of green infrastructure, we are not yet on that list. We're going to be writing a letter on it. I'll show you a map in a little bit, but I actually have all the green infrastructure of the East Bronx, and they are putting it in other areas, but they have not yet put it here. But we will be a pain, and we're going to CC Alina, and she's going to be here all the time now, so she'll be hearing about this stuff and everything.
And I know that they did do it in other areas. John did not send me an email about it, so I don't have an update because he didn't complain about it yet.
That's my fault. Okay, Cheryl.
I have a quick question.
Always.
The fact that some free spaces on the island have a smaller cutout. Why? Or what do we do about that?
What do you mean smaller cutout?
Well, I had a tree that died right here on the main street. And they came, Johnny on the spot, did something about it, cut it down, and it took about 3 years to get the stump out. But now I can't get a tree. But now I've been told it's too small a space. Well, it had a huge tree in it before.
Okay, I guess we'll send an email. We'll try to figure it out from forestry.
I don't want to take meeting time when.
No, it's fine.
No, but that's what meeting time is
Yeah.
about,
Okay,
and all of
good.
our concerns. So, I mean, honestly, I don't know anything about square, other than what
Yeah.
they say that the required space is.
It's just not
we can
as
find
big
out.
as most of them are.
Well, trees are different sizes, so maybe they can give you small trees. We'll figure it
That
out.
was my thinking.
Yeah.
Look at our height.
Trees are like people, they come in all shapes and sizes. There we go. Okay, does anyone
Any
else
other
have a
questions?
question that they'd like to address to the mayor's office before we move on?
And if you don't, it's fine, because I'm going to give you my contact information. If you think of something later, I sleep with my phone because I'm on call 24 hours a day. So,
And she will answer it at almost any hour.
going
Don't,
once,
don't torture her, that's all we ask. We want her to come back.
I'm going to come
We
back.
want you to come back, so we're not going to torture you.
I have twins that are 14. You guys, this is like a breeze,
There we go.
okay? And a husband and a furry child. Trust me, I'm enjoying this. I'm going once, going twice, I'm out. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. And again, as we've talked about, Alina has been out here looking at some of the flooding issues we have and trying to help us address those. And we're going to keep on a lot of the light issues because, as we know, it's been a very, very long-standing problem. Stephen, would you like to say anything? Or everybody give Stephen a round of applause. It's his first meeting. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Stephen Ochoa Camacho. I'm from State Senator Nathalia Fernandez's office. So really though, the only update I have to give you guys is that our office is unfortunately still in Riverdale because we have to use the previous State Senator's office, Senator Alexander Biaggi, but hopefully we're trying to find a new office, hopefully by April, they told me, either in Pelham Bay Park or East Tremont Avenue. And so,
What about here?
You have a lot of babies.
Yeah.
I mean, look, they try to put them where there are a lot of transit going through, so the buses and the trains, that's a priority, because while she does love City Island, she does also represent another 300,000 other people who don't live here. And if they have to sit through City Island traffic, they're gonna, it's not gonna be pretty.
And I've been, like, in regards to the streets on the roads on Pelham Parkway, I follow up with DOT, so, once I get a response, I'll text John, and I'll come back here in the next meeting.
Thank you, Steve.
And wait, also, another thing, I don't have business cards because since we're in the temporary office, Albany cannot be able to do one for me. So, I can definitely give you guys my email after this. Sure. Yeah.
What we'll do also is we'll do a post on all our social media with Elena's email and with Stephen's email and with all our elected officials so you can all have it.
I have a question. How much square footage will you be needing for a new office?
I have no idea on that answer because I'm not the.
We have a realtor here that can help you. That's
There we
all.
go.
Yeah.
There we go.
I can give
And
you
she's
my phone.
very good. Thank you, Stephen. Let's give him a hand. And Stephen was with Nathalia when she was still an assembly member, so he comes to us seasoned. He understands how government works, which we very much appreciate.
I'll be here as well.
Great. Thank you, Stephen. All right. Thank you. And we're just gonna acknowledge that we do have Nancy Keck here, who works for Borough President Gibson. So we're gonna give her a round of applause because she's a fan favorite. She doesn't want to speak, and we respect that. So I left community items intentionally blank because I know we didn't have a February meeting, so I figured some people would bring up a lot of things, and we're gonna just keep that to. We're going to keep that to new business, but I want to prep everybody. So now, this is a good time. Write down on your phone or whatever you want to say. Get it ready because when we get through our new business, we're going to do open floor and we're going to bring everything out so we have it on the record for the next meeting. I'm going to go through some of our old items here because we have been doing a lot, even though we didn't have a February meeting. We were working very hard. As everyone knows, we got a $20,000 capacity grant last year, which we are probably going to apply for another capacity grant this year. And two of our big projects were the mural, which Wes Roundtree did, which came out great, is done. It's going to actually be updated with our website at the bottom of it. And there's going to be a plastic thing on the side, which is going to be like a QR code, which is going to be how can you take action to take action to prevent climate change and things along that nature. So even though the artwork is done, there's going to be more going on there, so stay tuned. Our website is also up, so everyone can go check it out. It's cityislandrising.org. You can sign up for our emails there. We also have bios of most of the board, almost 75% of the board. We'll be updating that going forward. And if you'd like to see other features there, please let us know. We started a calendar, and we're going to have a lot of our initiatives right there on the side with updates and different ways for people to get involved. And I'm encouraged because the website's only been active for, I think, 2 weeks, and already someone reached out and said they want to get more active and involved. So it is serving a purpose. Next up, I shared this on our social media yesterday. We've been working closely with Sea Grant New York and FloodNet, which is funded by the Mayor's Office and the City Council. There was a great article in the Gothamist explaining they're going to be putting 500 flood sensors throughout the city of New York in flood-prone areas, and I've been assured we are going to be getting at least one flood sensor for City Island, and we're probably going to be getting one within Pelham Bay Park as well. So when I know the location, I'll definitely let you know. I think it's going to be over by Turtle Cove because that area tends to flood a lot. Yep. So that's where they're looking to put them. They're still working out some of the logistics, but hopefully in the next few months we'll be able to celebrate that because what gets measured is what gets done. And if anyone else wants to submit photos when they see flooding, I know we do have a few members who email me from time to time with their different observations and photos, which I appreciate. We do pass those along to Sea Grant New York, and as a lot of the money comes through the Inflation Reduction Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Bill, the state level, the Green Bonds Initiative, we have a lot of data to back up that this is a very flood-prone area. So please, everyone has their phone. It's an evidence recorder. Use it for good. Don't use it for evil. Let's use it together to improve the community. On that front, there is a Hutchinson River watershed group that's meeting right now for Westchester County, and then there'll be another one starting at the end of this year into next year, which will be Bronx County, which is funded by Assemblymember Benedetto. They are taking in all the different ways the Hutchinson River is polluted so we can come up with a plan to fix it. It's been a long-standing problem, but if people want to be more involved in the Westchester plan to get an idea of how it works, right now we're just identifying potential concerns to the waterway. I know some people here probably remember we do have a lot of those junkyards over on Boston Post Road. Some of them are on the Westchester side, some of them are on the Bronx side, so we have identified those. There was some areas over by where Mount Vernon and Pelham meet where Con Edison was dumping into the waterway. That has been identified as an area for further examination. A lot of City Islanders do sit on this Westchester committee. It's not just me. There's a lot of people with the Hutchinson River Restoration Project who are part of this, and with the City Island Oyster Project. So City Island, even though this isn't, we're not in the catchment area for phase one, we are very, very well represented in this group, and there are a lot of people from Westchester there. The county executive, George Latimer of Westchester County, is frequently on the calls, so it's being taken very seriously. So, to be continued. The other, on a good news front, everybody knows the Bronx 29 is now running 24/7. It's running on the half-hour mark throughout the hours between 1 a.m. to 7 a.m., and then it runs more frequently thereafter. It was actually just cited by the MTA. It had the bigger customer journal time performance improvement. So people are noticing it. It's flowing faster. It's going more on time. I got an update from the MTA on it today. So we are very happy for that, and we want to encourage people, when possible, take public transportation. Use it, don't lose it. And we want to keep this bus going, and if anything, hopefully we'll be able to add on a greater level of frequency for the future of this route. And then finally, cell phone reception in Pelham Bay Park. T-Mobile has submitted some plans to Amtrak. We have our federal partners involved in this as well. Someone from Senator Schumer's office is making sure that they're fixing the, let me back up a little bit. Pelham Bay Park, for those who might not be familiar, has been identified as one of the top 20 dead zones in the city of New York on your cell phone. And Beverly, you were talking about safety earlier. If you can't make a call in an emergency, that affects your safety. So we've been working to fix this for the better part of a year. T-Mobile, again, they have to repair their existing apparatus, which is down by the Amtrak lines, but they have submitted to Amtrak what they would like to do to approve it. And we do have, on the federal side, Senator Schumer's office, and I'll be reaching out to the Congresswoman's office so we can make sure that is going through, because God forbid anybody's in an emergency, we want you to be able to get help. And you know what? Just as somebody who's on their phone frequently when they're driving, it'd be nice not to have as many dropped calls as I'm going through Pelham Park. Although I think my friends have now come to anticipate I'm close to home if I drop their calls. Sure.
I don't think people really know how important that is. We had a deer hit our car on the driver's side, a huge buck, about 7 years ago, and we could not get through. Thank God we were up past where you go to Bar Topel and just walk back to the clubhouse. Yeah. But we could not get through to get help.
No, it's a big thank you for sharing that. It is a big problem.
On to new business real quick, and then everybody, we're going to take questions right thereafter and make sure we get them all in. Do we have anything, Lou, on the online side, or everybody's okay? Good. So the first thing is the Army Corps of Engineers has come out. Again, this is the zombie study for the seawalls that they're trying to put up citywide. Per usual, the seawalls are only for Lower Manhattan and Brooklyn and a small crevice of Queens. There is no seawalls being planned for most of the Bronx. We are going to do a letter. The comment period is at the end of the month, so we're going to be doing some social media posts to encourage people to submit on their own, but we'll be doing a letter on behalf of the organization, just communicating how disappointed we are on that. This is not a done deal. As everyone recalls, the study was canceled last time because people got upset and spoke out. And, if you put in these seawalls in certain areas, you're in a sense leaving other neighborhoods and other low-lying areas to be sacrificial lambs, which I know none of us want. So we are going to be putting this out. I know I spoke to Senator Fernandez's office. She's going to be putting out a letter as well. I'll be reaching out to our other elected officials to make sure they're putting out letters to communicate that the plan that the Army Corps has put together is inadequate for the Bronx, inadequate for our region, particularly inadequate for City Island.
I have one more question.
Go for it.
A couple of years it came up before COVID that it not only was inadequate, but it would wipe part of our island.
Yep. Sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, and that's
bad news.
I think we could just be working on that.
The nice thing is that I was rushing to get this letter done because the deadline was supposed to be Monday, and then Sunday night they extended it. The deadline is at the end of the month. So we are going to e-blast out to everybody. We're encouraging everybody to contact the Army Corps of Engineers and communicate exactly what you just said. A lot of environmental groups, including the Hutchinson River Restoration Project, have already chimed in. Save the Sound has chimed in. They're against it. Robert F. Kennedy's group, what's it, Riverway or something like that? Riverkeeper. They're against it. So we're in very good company. A lot of those groups are speaking out, and we appreciate that. So we're going to send that letter out. I assume there's no objection to that. It seems like a non-controversial thing to save the neighborhood. Also in new business, everyone knows we did post about this. It got a lot of attention. 663 City Island Avenue, the Worm Bar, also known as the Temple. When they got their liquor license pulled, they tried to rebrand as a religious denomination so they could serve alcohol way back when. It was a place where they had a fire once and the roof went out, but they were back in there drinking before the day was done. It was a piece of City Island history. It is, sad, unfortunately, that it is being demolished, but they did find out that it was unsafe. This was not a planned thing. Someone complained, and they went out and they did an assessment of the building, and that's why you see the, as of right now, the The woodwork is stripped. You can see the woodwork. They're starting the demolition of that building. It's very sad, but this was determined not to be safe, and it was not preserved for decades, which compounded what's going on there. Beverly, go ahead.
John, somebody on the Facebook had posted that there are a number of community cat colonies in and around that area. Do we know what the plans are to try and exclude community cats as much as possible so that they are not harmed in the demolition?
That's a good question, and we will communicate that to DOB and to HPD, who is authorized to do those demolition work.
And the mayor's office.
And the mayor's
Animal
office.
welfare.
There we
The mayor's
go.
office of animal welfare, I'm gonna flag it.
Great,
Thank you, Alina. See? There we go. Things are happening right here. She's pinging the people as we speak. There is. Also, it's now led to everybody to share their own experiences in that building. Some are sharing, some are scaring, but regardless, get down there and see it before it moves on. Next up, we have Marlena. We have the clothing drive and the dog run. Do you want to speak, or do you want me just to put them out there to see? So Marlena, who's right over here, had a great idea that with spring cleaning, if people want to donate some of their clothing, we will be a receiving site for clothing. So we'll pick a day, we'll put it out there. If you're going through your closets and you realize that you don't need some stuff, we can either make sure they get back to the migrants like we've done before, or we will find another group for people in need, maybe a domestic violence shelter or one of the children's shelters or shelters overall.
Where do you want them to go?
We're gonna put out a date and we're gonna just collect.
Like a drive,
Yeah.
select a date and everybody will bring in and then we'll
Yeah.
solidify logistics for distribution time.
Sounds
And
good.
speaking of,
Absolutely. And speaking of, Nathalia has moved the agenda forward here.
Yeah.
The second thing here we want to discuss was the dog run.
yeah,
But-
because it's kind of stagnant, so we've been trying, right, to get a space, because then this happens, right?
Yes.
These people and many.
Brian's the dog whisperer, so we're okay.
No, but I've been meeting some of the dog parents and we've been using the kids part.
Yeah.
And while the kids are out and they enjoy this, it really isn't safe.
I agree.
So, not only for the animals, for kids, that, you get excited animals as you never know, they may bite, as strong as they may be, you all know the story.
Yes.
So, so to get an update, and maybe we can have like a subcommittee of people that can move this forward until we finally get it.
I love it. You're gonna volunteer for that committee, right?
He just,
We'll help you.
his finger strategy just.
Yeah, no. Volunteer or voluntold, but you would be a great person for this. What we've done since the last time we spoke about this is one, the barrier, as I recall, in 2018, 2019, was finding a good space for it. And I believe there was only 100,000 or 200,000 that had been set aside for this. And to do a really adequate dog run, it would require more money. So I know we have the councilwoman's staff on the line, so we're going to have to coordinate with them. I did also notify the district manager of the community board, and a few years ago we had a member of the community board from City Island, and she was wonderful, and this was like her big cause, and she got a lot of flack, which was totally undeserved, but I did reach out to her today to set up a Zoom call for the three of us, so she can tell us where we left off here. But it's going to require speaking to elected officials for funding, liaisoning with the community board, and liaisoning with the council member's office. So, council member's office on this meeting right now, so they're aware, and we'll follow up with them. Community board, I spoke to the district manager today, and this former person who used to handle it, I did email her shortly before the meeting began.
Okay, great.
So
we'll do it.
the committee will start the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
My son lives in Ottawa, and they have beautiful dog runs. I mean, they have wooded areas, even like Hunter,
Yeah.
where people can walk around, the
Holiday Park does have a dog run already on the south lawn over, and also I know some of the dog parents on the island wanted to try to find a place on the island to have it, and so we're gonna have to go back to the drawing board.
To that note, is some of us work from home or telecommute, and we do need an area that we can go, walk, go back to work.
Yes.
During the day, and that's what's been going on at 2 p.m. Everybody's like, oh, great.
Yeah.
We have lunchtime, and then we go to the park, but then the children at the school are out.
Yeah.
It's just not safe.
No, I agree. I think, look, this is something, a lot of people have dogs, and a lot of people, you're right, the informal dog run is the school field, which is not great for the dogs because it doesn't have all the amenities they want. And yeah, it's not great for the children either, so we've got to find a better solution.
The schoolyard, the park, but the school is not fully enclosed.
Yeah.
A dog could squeeze through, I've seen it. And I have to take her out of it. She's like, oh my God, children. I had my dog there years ago. She squeezed down and went into the water. I went to the water to get her. So
All right,
let's say we do need one.
No, and not that I'm saying this is a great spot for it, but when people saw that the building was being demoed at 663, someone actually put in the comments, "Great, we can put the dog run there." So people, there is a movement for the dog run. Does anyone else have anything dog, human, or otherwise related that we didn't cover tonight on the agenda?
What's going on with the ferry? Sorry.
No, that's fine. So Marlena. And then, of course, we'll come back to Cheryl and Monica. I saw you. Do you have your hand up, or?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Just wondering if we were talking about the ball field.
Yes.
Because, I mean, I take my dog.
I know. Yeah. So on the ferry, we have the petition right here. We have crossed the threshold of over 1,000 signatures, which is very good. We did have a conversation with Beverly and I had a conversation with the Waterfront Alliance in November, and I know there was a few meetings of EDC, which is the Economic Development Corporation, and they were before the City Council, and there was one council member who had a survey of where you would like to see ferries go, and we all jumped on that and said, City Island would be a great place, and she actually mentioned it in the City Council hearing. As of right now, what they're trying to do is stabilize the line. They're trying to get a new vendor. I think Hornblower is leaving. They're not going to have Hornblower anymore. So we're going to continue to push for that. I did tweet at the mayor, but I was very nice, I have to tell you. But I did tweet at him that we wanted the ferry, and we are going to continue to push for it. I do encourage everybody here. They can email their council member, however they feel about it, District 13 at council.nyc.gov. Be polite to all elected officials and civil servants because we're asking them to do something for us. So tell them how much you super appreciate it. Beverly.
One of the other issues that we sort of found out in looking at some of the decision making on ferry siting pre-pandemic was that the study was looking at where people are commuting to and from during peak commuting times. And so while we do have a fair number of people, myself included, that do commute to Midtown, the real use of the ferry for us would be in the off times, right? And so one of the things that I think that we want to be conscious of is the next time that any kind of study is done on siting, to not just be laser beam focused on this as an alternative to the 9 to 5 commute, but looking at other periods of heavy usage, which, obviously we see every weekend, an evening in the summer. So making sure that the assumptions that are being done with that study account for our reality as well as, bedroom community, more sort of stereotypical neighborhoods.
Yeah, and another good point, and you kind of touched on this, the more The more responsive the ferry service is, get one to here, the more cars that won't be on the road on summer weekends here, which I know drive a lot of people crazy. So that's something to consider.
I just wanted to so I don't want to play devil's advocate, but I will tell you guys that I have spoken to other communities that really wanted the ferry, and it's really great. But and just like where I live at, a lot of Westchester people do come in. So I don't know if you guys have a problem with people in parking. Maybe you don't have that problem, but just you will have more people coming in to your community just because it's now they can sort of stop and then park here. I live in Norwood, and everybody parks literally just to either go to the Yankee game or to go into the Manhattan, and there's no place for us to park.
But City Island is a different beast because it's a dead end.
Yeah.
So no one's going to drive past the other ferry stop and past Pelham Bay Park.
You'll be surprised what people do. I'm just flagging it, just
All right.
because what's going to happen is you guys will be here, and then you'll come, and then you'll be upset, and then you'll be complaining that so many people, so many strangers are coming.
Ideally, they would consider it with Orchard Beach, and that way, if you have Orchard Beach, there's a parking lot sitting there 9 months of the year, and people would, I think, go to park somewhere where they knew they had guaranteed parking rather than the rat race on the avenue, personally. Unfortunately, the study that we examined also indicated that the sea levels in Orchard Beach make it a not great stop. That was in the EDC report. But you could always have a jitney from there to the ferry or something like that. It's to get the ball rolling. But, also, I mean, if somebody is going to take a ferry, I'm just going to point this out, the Throgs Neck Ferry, that parking lot's sitting there and it's not very widely used. So we will encourage them to take it from there.
That's not true. Thank
Yes,
you.
it is.
The Throgs Neck Ferry parking lot?
That's what I
drop off.
Okay, all right. We will figure. We're not going to determine all the ferry things tonight, but we are going to encourage people to continue to sign. Yes, to get the study going and to have all these things into consideration. And you know what? There are areas here, possibly even at the end of Fordham Street, where they could put some sort of parking if they wanted to. They'd have to acquire the site, though.
But John, it would be nice for you guys to also, as neighbors, communicate with CB9, because when I speak to a lot of people over there in the Shore Point, they're very upset.
Oh,
so,
no, I not.
Those are the people that wanted it.
Yeah.
It's always when we want it, it looks good. But I encourage you guys to do the study, but just being cautious of.
We're aware this is a different group of people here, not to be rude.
Another thing is, we wouldn't notice any extra parking.
Yeah.
It's different than other neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And there's also vacant storefronts that would be less likely to be vacant if we had boats full of people who came in here and stuff.
Where would the boat be?
We'll figure that out. That's what a study would determine. Kai, did you have something you wanted to say? Okay. Did anyone else?
I just had a quick one.
Always should.
I had guests from out of town, and once again they asked me why the bridge was not fully painted.
I will follow up on that. That's a DOT thing, but I can tell you that has been addressed to them several times.
It's just that the job wasn't finished.
No, I understand.
I know. And I'd be glad to do anything and use your name.
No worries.
It's just,
I will go. We will ask them again why they haven't finished it. I know they were considering it at one point, but we will go back to them on that. Maybe now with the demolition work happening there and them getting more access to that site, everyone knows over by the Worm Bar and everything else, the area that is actually publicly owned that we had our last meeting on with the Gateway Project folks. That area is going to, hopefully get a second life in terms of its use. And DOT did reclaim that property. Remember, it was being used with the spools of electrical stuff and the bucket trucks.
This week.
Yeah, and they cleared all that out. So now that they have access to the site, maybe we'll have an easier time getting that painted properly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'd even get a bunch of City Islanders to help.
I would love that. There's probably some sort of contract, and I don't want to take work away from working men and women, because we are the blue-collar city with the... There's areas where it's still very metallic in nature.
No, it's not that. It's half of the area in different parts is silver and half is green, and it looks like it's just not finished.
Mhm.
And thank God, who put up those light standards? Who picked those out?
Oh, I that was a part of the original. That was a part of the design.
It's as if they just stopped short of the paint job. And so you've got silver, green, silver, not in any certain order. They
I will
didn't
point
finish
out to
the
you,
job. Yeah.
the light, I'll definitely send it to you. The lights over on this bridge, the City Island Bridge, work, which is not the case with the Shore Road Bridge or the Pelham Bay Bridge. Those lights do not work, so we are a little better off with that. Does anyone else have a question, comment, or concern before we close out this meeting?
Can I just?
Absolutely.
I forgot to mention one more capital project thing.
Sure.
The, you know, the 4 stations that they're building along the Amtrak? Well, they're gonna, be replacing the railroad trestle that's right near the golf course. So that will probably happen sometime this year, but I don't have it.
Okay. Thank you for that. And we did, just so people know, because the Co-op City stop on the Metro North is going to be at Erskine Place. And we did ask for them, we did write to the people who are doing the Metro North study to consider a well-lit walking path right from Pelham Parkway to there, so somebody could conceivably walk. Have the bus stop there, and people can get out and walk to the Co-op City stop when it starts. So we have asked for that, and we'll follow up with all of our elected officials and those here and joining us virtually. Okay, everybody, thank you all so very much for coming out tonight. We appreciate you.